Welcome, everybody, to Taco Podcast.
Hello.
Today, I'm joined by my special guest. Today, I am joined by my daughter, Elizabeth. And Elizabeth is going to tell us about retro gaming and the tragedy that is otherwise known as ET by the Atari 2600 system. Wow. We're going to learn something that none of us remember probably, but we're all probably alive. We just missed this little part of history.
Oh, it's not so little. It was very colossal. Hello and welcome, one and all. I have a tale to tell you, one as old as time. A tale of lofty ambitions in a monumental fall. Today, we discuss E.T. for the Atari 2600.
Okay. First off, that came out in 1982, you said?
Yep,
1982, ladies and gentlemen.
same year as the movie.
Let's think back to where we all were in 1982. And 1982, I was residing about 3 blocks from where we are sitting right now in 1982. Well, they're not like a normal city block. One is about a mile, but it's kind of weird how this place is situated. It's unlike any other city you'll ever find anywhere in the world. It was made this way on purpose, so in case the Russians ever attacked, they would never be able to find their way to the things that they had strategically placed here.
He's not joking. This used to be military housing.
Yeah. So 1982. Oh wow. I was the young little kid. I remember when the movie came out though, and I got to see it at a matinee. But I do not remember this game.
That's for the best.
I never actually had an Atari system
Oh.
growing up. My mom it's not like we didn't have the money. It's just that she didn't believe in the newest, latest thing. She believed that when things came out, that you wait a year for it to come out and then see if somebody really buys it or if people enjoy it. So if a new car came out, you don't buy it the first year. You wait to see if anybody else, likes it, and if they have any problems or if it falls apart, the wheels fall off it or whatever. So when it came to home entertainment systems, she, waited her 1 year, and while all my friends, had the Ataris, we had the Atari system. We had Pong, bing, 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 bing. And it was several years old, at that point when we got the original game, and it's all I had was Pong. That was it. The next later version had Pong tennis and golf and all kinds of stuff like that, and actual cartridge games. But the first one didn't have it. But the 2600 and ET. So tell me about this game.
Okay. Well, obviously, you all know about the movie E.T. It was one of the biggest movies of that year, with almost 800 million in box office revenue.
Wow.
So, with that success, E.T. looked at themselves and said, might be able to get a little bit of that for us. And so
ET? Oh, so Atari looked at it and said they could probably make some money off of it. Like a tie-in.
Yep. But there were a couple problems.
What were those?
Well, achieving the rights weren't as easy as one might expect. Took several months, and what was it? Close to 80,000? No, was it 80? It cost a lot to buy the rights, and a lot of people were skeptical that the game would be a success. By the time I actually got around to having the rights, there was less than 6 weeks until the Christmas season.
Ooh, that's not very long at all.
Nope.
So they wanted to get this out before the Christmas holiday?
And they did.
Really?
Oh yeah, this game right here. Oh, my box. But this game right here was made in 5.5 weeks.
That is well. How long does it normally take to make a game?
Well,
You
depends
know,
on
like
the
back
game.
then in 1982.
Mm,
I'm sure there's a lot more, into what it takes to making a game today, time wise.
well, back then technology was a lot more simpler, so 6 months at the shortest.
Wait, so it takes 6 months to make a game in 1982, and they did it in 6 weeks?
Not even that.
Not even 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
How is that possible? They had to cut a lot of corners in order to make it in 6 weeks.
And it shows.
Really? So is this a fun game to play?
No, we're even close.
Really? It's only got one picture on the back. And
Well, this is a recreation.
is that supposed to be ET?
Yep.
It looks like a half of an E.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have my glasses on. I can't focus in on too much, but I mean, the pixels weren't all that great.
So, that is a screenshot of the game. That's what the whole thing looked like. And you can imagine, people were none too happy. But, because of the success of the movie, everyone gathered around and was like, oh my god, such a big name. It's gotta be good. So, Atari set to work. And they made over 5 million copies of this game. About half of which were sold.
5 million.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So they only sold only a fraction of what they actually made. What did they do with the rest of them?
Oh, we're getting to that. But first let's talk about the ones they did sell. People were none too happy when they got their hands on this atrocity masquerading as a game. Reporters and reviewers panned it, talking about how horrible it was to play, control, the graphics, the plot. It was universally hated, and over 600,000 copies were returned within the next year.
Wow.
And to make matters worse, because of the success of the movie, it was assumed that a lot more would sell. So retailers already had tons of unsold stock.
Okay. So let's just take it from a retail perspective. The movie's a huge success, going gangbuster. It's making millions of dollars at the box office. Atari rushes out this game. I'm the retailer who's trying to retail this game. Do you know what it sold for originally? What the original retail price was, by chance? I mean, it doesn't really matter.
No.
But let's just say it was, $20.
Yeah.
Let's just say that the game was originally $20 to, retail price. I mean, and with bad reviews and so many of them being returned, I mean, you'd have to slash the price to try to get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
But you can only go so low before the retailer, as from my perspective, if I'm the retailer of it, I'd be losing money on the game. And they still have all those unsold stock.
Uh-huh. And this is where we get into the fun part. The 1983 gaming market crash.
Ooh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Partially helped by this.
It's so many, awful games that came out and nobody wanted. And
Yep.
the market was flooded full of machines. They had overproduced everything. Forgot all about that. That was the following year? Dang.
Yep. And remember, this came out so it could be bought by families for the 1982 Christmas season. And that's one of the reasons it's considered a contributing factor to the market crash. Back then, there were so many problems. You had sometimes unreliable reviews, oversaturation, third-party developers who weren't being checked to see the quality of their work and just letting run wild. And all of that led to a horrible stigma amongst consumers that these things can't be trusted. And so they stopped buying.
I wouldn't want to buy.
Yeah. And with that, the crash came. And for years, the gaming market suffered.
So you said that they only sold a fraction of the actual games, of the ET itself. What did they do with the unsold stock?
I'm so glad you asked. Let's see. September. In September of 1983, some higher ups at Atari had a truly mad idea. They decided to bury them.
Huh?
Yeah.
What do you mean, like in the bins and stores? Like put them on the bottom of the bins?
Oh, no. In September of 1983, between 10 and 20 semis arrived at an El Paso Atari warehouse and unloaded all of their unsold and loaded up all of their unsold stock and drove to a pit in New Mexico to have them destroyed and literally buried. Thousands of unsold games, consoles, memorabilia, all of it.
They literally buried it all in the desert.
They did. But at the time, there wasn't a lot of coverage on that. So there was a lot of speculation. And also, that's something fucking ridiculous to do.
A lot of companies did stuff like, that would be considered shady. Yeah. I mean, burying a big old plastic box like this. And
oh, no, it came in a cardboard box.
Oh, so this isn't
No, this is a recreation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I found this copy in my great grandfather's shed.
But the game is original. That's all plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. ET cartridge. That's cool. But you got this from your grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
He had a lot of electronics.
Oh yeah, and a lot of old games.
Hmm.
I have most of his Atari and Super Family.
Well, I know that
ColecoVision.
And there's also in the collection of retro gaming systems, you have what I originally got was the first complete gaming system with its add-ons, and it came with a lot of different ones. And that so there was, at the time when I was growing up, you could either go Commodore, Atari, or you could go with one of then there were offshoots, the different companies there were still Ataris or Commodores, but you also had like your ColecoVision, you had your Intellivision,
mm-hmm.
and that's what I had. But the Intellivision and a lot of these other ones were the other brands, they just renamed them. So even the Intellivision had an offshoot it was an Intellivision, but they may have branded it differently at Montgomery Ward's versus Sears, but it was the same system. It was an Intellivision system that was sold under different names. They had so much of this stuff that they made. They like, okay, well, we're not selling it up here at Sears, in the catalog and in store. Let's sell our stock off to JCPenney. JCPenney would come up with a new name, and all they do is just slap a different sticker on there, and they call it something else. But it was still the original Intellivision. But I had the Intellivision. I had a keyboard. I had a printer. I had the game system itself. And I think that was all that it came with. But you could actually type on your screen on your television, your CRT, television, and you could post messages to these message boards. It was like way before the internet.
Oh yeah.
But
Part of my great grandfather's gaming collection also includes a series of floppy disks with flight emulator data on them.
Yeah. Well, and when I was in high school, we had to take a licensing program. You had to get licensed in order to use a computer. They made you take, it was in a 5-part series. You had first, it was a book study. Then you had actual class study where you actually learned about what a computer is and how a computer works. And then that was the second part. The third part was showing that you actually functionally could use it without damaging it. That was the third part. The fourth part was proficiently, explaining all the other steps that you had done to somebody else, showing them so they could go through the licensing program. And then the fifth part was a test on everything else that had been, as the systems were being invented in computers. We had 2 computers for our entire high school. And that was it was a high school, middle school, and elementary school at once. We had one for the high school, one for the middle school. And so the teachers had to do the grades on them. And then once they were done, there was a certain block of time throughout the day. You could go in to the DOS prompt. Everybody remember DOS? And type in, from DOS games, enter, and that's where the flight simulator games and stuff like that came from, the floppy disk. But we had clones of Apples. They were called Franklin.
Oh, yeah.
Franklin computers. They're absolute 100% clones.
Good old Hackintosh.
Yeah. But
As,
ET.
As ridiculous as that may sound back then, computers were coming into homes for the first time in years, which was actually another one of the reasons of the gaming market crash. Was the rise in at-home computing. You also had the rise of at-home gaming. And when you can't rely on someone else to make you a game, make it yourself.
Yeah. The computer system that we had took up in a room about the size of the studio. And then we went from that to the 286 system, the clones of the Apple computer that was all on one thing that could sit on an actual desk. It took up the entire desk, but it probably weighed 50 pounds. I don't know, it's heavy as hell. But we got some of those for the high school, and then it went from there, and then it went 286, 486, 686, and people kept on dreaming about, maybe someday we'll have fast computing. And now we carry around computers in our hands.
Yeah.
Every day. This has got more computing power. And I saw an actual statistic on this. This has more computing power than every single computer. If every classroom at my school, when I was in high school, had a computer, this has more computing power than every classroom combined would have had.
Oh, yeah.
And we take it all for granted.
Not only that, if you look at file sizes,
Oh.
These days, one MP3 file dwarfs the file sizes back then. That would be the size of your entire storage. And that's just one song.
So E.T.
Yeah.
An epic failure.
Oh, we haven't gotten to the best part.
What's that?
As the years went on, because of the lack of information around the burial of Atari's unsold items, it eventually became an urban legend. And people started to wonder, did it ever happen? What was in all those boxes? And some said that it was purely E.T. for the Atari, because everyone hated it. And that was until April 26, 2014.
Wow.
When the burial site was finally discovered. And turns out E.T. for the Atari made up about 10% of the items that were in the landfill.
Only 10% got buried?
Yeah.
What the hell did they do with the rest of them?
This was from one warehouse.
Well, yeah, but what happened to the rest of them? You said there were so many of them that were unsold. Did they just stick around in stores until they sold them or could give them away? Hey, buy this other game, we'll give you this one for free or something? I mean, that's
Not
all.
much is known from back then, but
Hmm.
that is a likely case.
So what else did it
The
say? What
reason
else?
everyone in the gaming sphere, especially the retro gaming sphere, knows of this is because of how infamous it is, not because of its rarity. You can actually get a copy for fairly cheap on eBay. It sold fairly well, despite how many were returned, and it's around. You just need to know where to look.
Hmm. So what else was buried? Do they know? Like what other games?
Oh, well, one image that you can commonly find online that includes a copy of ET for the Atari also includes a copy of Centipede. It's also speculated that a lot of copies of Pong were in there because it was widely panned for not being as good as the original.
I like Centipede. I fondly remember playing Centipede, and games like that, like Centipede and Moon Patrol and stuff like that. But I think those were made by Midway for some
Midway
reason.
Games was a
Was
very popular developer.
this is made by Atari only? Atari for Atari. Maybe this is why Atari's not around anymore.
Oh,
Or are
they're
they?
still around,
Oh, they are.
unfortunately.
What do they do now? Do they make gaming systems?
They're trying to sell NFTs
What? NFTs?
and crypto.
That's scam.
Technically,
Oh,
no.
I'm sorry. They're not scams. I'm not supposed to say that.
Yeah.
NFTs are not scams. You just go ahead and give your money away, and you go to the About Me section here on YouTube. You can find my information where you can send me all of your actual money if you want an NFT. I will tell you you have an NFT. I will promise you that there's one out there, but you're never going to actually have anything physically.
Yeah, and given the chances that the link, which is the only thing you're actually buying when you get an NFT,
Yep.
that the link might just no longer exist because one of
Crash.
the servers or providers shuts down, you basically have nothing.
It has. I've read countless stories about people who, what was it, the gorilla or monkey NFT?
Bored Ape.
Bored Ape, yeah.
Yeah.
So they spent thousands and thousands of dollars on these NFTs, and then the system, like shut down, and it lost like 25% of the people who owned NFTs. They just disappeared. They did. Oh, we're sorry. We have no way of retrieving you.
Yeah.
But thank you for buying, your copy of, of it.
Also, because of how new the technology is, there's not a lot of regulation around it. So if your NFT gets stolen, you're basically fucked.
So they're selling NFTs and crypto.
Yes. And
Are they making any gaming systems, or
well,
what about the retro
they
systems?
did re-release one of their older systems as a while back. Nintendo made miniature versions of their older systems and re-released them and started a mini console craze, let's say. ET was not ET, fuck me. Atari.
Wow, you're like your mom. You guys are your potty mouths. Go ahead.
Atari was one of the companies that jumped on board, making a miniature version of one of their older systems with a lot of games that they had the rights to pre-installed on it. They also made a very insane decision and decided to hire Soldier Boy to help promote their crypto.
Soldier Boy.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
A lot of people might not know who Soldier Boy is, but Soldier Boy was a rapper, or well, I'm pretty sure he's still making music, unfortunately. Soldier Boy is a rapper who came up fairly recently and decided that he was going to make his own game consoles. But he's a hack, so instead he just bought a bunch of Chinese knockoffs and put them in a new shell. Atari decided to give him a bunch of their crypto as payment for him to become an ambassador of sorts and help promote not only their crypto but their newest endeavors. That went about as well as you can expect.
I didn't know that was Atari. I heard this the whole story about Soldier Boy coming out with his own handheld unit in gaming console,
Hmm.
and how much it was just a complete clone of other stuff that he just slapped his name on.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. The reason people know about this thing with Atari is Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy really misunderstood the terms of the contract and thought that he had become the CEO of Atari
Hmm.
and was ruthlessly mocked for that.
But they don't that besides making a retro gaming system, they don't make games anymore. Things
No,
like
not
that.
really.
They like a lot of things, they've gone away, like other things.
Yeah. Well, you have to keep in mind, at the time of the gaming market crash, Atari's reputation was kind of in flames. This game and other games that they made, put their seal of approval on, and released were universally panned as being absolute shit. And they never really recovered from that.
Hmm.
They always stayed around doing something or other, but they never really made a big comeback. And in that time, new giants were born. Nintendo, Sega.
EA Sports.
You shut your damn dirty mouth.
EA, yay. Ubersoft.
Yeah. And funnily enough, there are other people today who make atrocities that don't seem to go away.
No. Somehow they just keep on going and going and going and going. I mean, I guess it's really easy to, if you don't make money in the developed world, just go to a third world country and start selling systems there. I mean, they don't know. Maybe in, someplace in Kenya or in the Amazon rainforest, they don't know that this game sucks and they can sell it to them.
I'm pretty sure the Kenyans have higher standards.
Yeah. Well, they probably have the internet too, so they probably know it sucks. So, oh, that's cool. Anything else about the ET and the Atari that we should know?
Not much.
But they're still around, but they're just
Oh,
not
well, actually, there is one other thing. The ridiculous excuse Atari gave for trashing all their unsold items.
Ooh, what was it say?
They told people that the items being trashed were unusable, broken, not unsold and unwanted.
But when they made this game, was it manufactured here in America? I mean, it says it's got this the Sunnydale, California address for Atari, but I wonder maybe was it actually manufactured here in America? Trademark of Universal Studios. Well, obviously, it doesn't say anything else on here. 1982, Atari Incorporated.
I believe Atari is an American company, so
Well, another one of
be
the
produced largely in America.
another one of the gaming companies that was out there that was in the home entertainment system, right along with Intellivision, ColecoVision, Sega, Atari, Nintendo before Nintendo really got into it, was Texas Instruments.
Oh yeah,
the same people who make the world's best graphic calculators. I mean, they're still around. They're still kicking butt. But they went back to their core mission of what they make is microchips.
Also,
and they stuck with their true value. They're like
part of the reason TI managed to get out of the gaming crash relatively unscathed is because they didn't really make games. They were more accessory based. They made keyboards and things on programming, which aided in the more home console centered part of the industry.
Well, I mean, there used to be a store that was called Radio Shack, and they had a line of home entertainment systems called the Tandy computing system, and they had home systems as well. But a lot of the Tandy systems were basically Commodores, just rebranded with a brown case on them.
Yeah,
and it was just like that's a Commodore. But everybody, most people didn't know that though. They found out later on.
That was
Hey,
a
everything
big
inside of
problem
here
back
is
then. You had your Hackintoshes, you had your Commodores in a new shell.
yeah,
Basically, if someone could get their hands on it, they would, and they'd slap it in a new container and try and convince you it's a brand new thing, we promise.
yeah, yeah. That happened a lot. I've learned a lot from YouTube channels like LGR,
Yeah.
and 8-Bit Guy.
8-Bit Guy is a really good channel. Highly recommend.
If you're really into retro gaming, computers, and stuff like that, I highly suggest LGR and 8-Bit Guy. Both of them make excellent content. But all right, everyone, I wanted to thank you today for joining us here on the Taco Podcast.